And then from there, private notice. Kuna question, wait, page 3.
Haya, standby.
Jesus Christ.
Nani siko standby?
Mwambie ngoja nivae caps. Good morning to you and welcome to this live broadcast of the National Assembly. On this 30th day of November, the year is 2022, a morning sitting of the National Assembly on this particular day. As scheduled, the National Assembly usually sits on Wednesday in the morning as well as in the afternoon. And remember, this broadcast is also brought to you through the collaboration between the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation and the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit. My name is Gladys Mungai, and so I'll be shortly taking you through the highlights in the order of business this morning. It is a full entry order paper with a lot of motions and bills as well as statements to be made and statements to be sought by members from various departmental committees. Given priority in the order of business today is the exemption of business from the provisions of Standing Orders number 40, subsection 3. And this is a procedural motion by the Leader of Majority that this House resolves to exempt the business appearing as order paper number 9 in today's order paper from the provisions of Standing Orders number 40, subsection 3, being a Wednesday morning. And this is a day allocated for business, not sponsored by majority or minority party, or business sponsored by a committee. And in case you're wondering, this order number 9, what it is about, it is another motion on the consideration of the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulations number 2022. And this particular motion is by the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Delegated Legislation. In the motion, the committee seeks that the House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation, and this is on its consideration of the Public Finance Management Regulations of 2022, Financial Inclusion Fund, popularly known as the Hustler Fund, laid on the table of the House on November 29, the year is 2022. We had members deliberating about this particular bill and regulations of this particular fund yesterday in the evening. And pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders number 24, subsection 4 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, approves the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulations of 2022, published under Legal Notice number 213 of 23rd November 2022. The debate on this particular motion was concluded yesterday, and what is remaining is for question to be put in regards to the proposals in this particular bill. Another bill that members of Parliament will be voting on this morning, owing to the fact that the debate on this particular bill was concluded, is the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill number 2. This is a bill originating from the Senate, Bill number 4 of the year 2022. This particular bill is by the Chairperson, Budget and Appropriations Committee. The Health Amendment Bill number 2 of the National Assembly, Bill number 42 of the year 2022, is a bill that will be tabled for the first time before the floor this morning. And this particular bill is a bill by Honorable Didmas Baraza. And also matters to do with the Equalization Fund Bill, National Assembly Bill number 47 of the year 2022, a bill by Honorable Kasait Kamket, is a bill that will also be tabled for the first time before the floor this morning. Pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders number 42A, subsection 5, A few members of parliament will be asking questions for reply before specified departmental committees. The member for Thika Town, Honorable Alice Nganga, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration to provide the status of investigation into the circumstances surrounding the mysterious disappearance of Mr. Derek Mureti Muriuki and Mr. Lawrence Mawiranjeru on the 29th of June, the year is 2022, while they were en route to Nairobi from Kakuma, Turkana County, while on board a motor vehicle registration number KCZ 057W, and which was later found abandoned a few meters from Salga Police Station. Reported at Salga Police Station via OB number 13 3006 2022 and at Kasarani Police Station, respectively. And could the Cabinet Secretary assure the affected families that the investigations into the incident will be fast-tracked? And finally, the Honourable Member for Thika Town would want to know from the Cabinet Secretary the measures that have been put in place to guarantee security for the immediate family members of the mentioned persons, considering that they have been receiving threats on their lives since the mysterious disappearance of their kin. Questions by Honourable Member for Thika will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Administration and Matters National Security. The Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honourable Gladys Boss, is in the chamber this morning. I'll now hand you over so you could follow up on the live proceedings of the National Assembly. Enjoy your viewing and good arm.
Let us pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the officers of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interest you have committed to our church. Amen. There no be quorum. I think we shall ring the bell certain times for another 10 minutes.
The Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honourable Gladys Boss, has directed that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes, and this is in line with the provisions of standing orders of the House. And this directive is to allow for more members of Parliament access the chambers this morning. A look at the order paper this morning at just about where we left, I had informed you of a question by Honorable Member for Thika Town, Honorable Alice Nganga, who will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Matters Interior and National Administration in regards to the disappearance of 2 people from her constituency who are coming from Kakuma in Turkana County to Nairobi. Further, the member for Kirinyaga County, Honorable Jane Maina, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, Livestock and Matters Development to provide the measures put in place by the government to address invasion of rice farmers in Mwea irrigation scheme by quillbirds, where hundreds of acres of farms are destroyed every year. And as a result, could the Cabinet Secretary also consider compensating the farmers who are normally affected by the said menace? And finally, could the Cabinet Secretary explain whether the government has plans, if any, to increase the retail price of paddy rice for Mwea farmers? Questions by Honorable Member for Kirinyaga County will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Matters Agriculture and Livestock. She just stepped into the chamber this morning on your screen. And further, the member for Kipkelion East, Honorable Cherorot Joseph, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Environment and Forestry that could the Cabinet Secretary explain the current government position in regards to moratorium on logging activities in forest imposed in 2018 and its adverse effects on harvesting of disposal of mature trees in Kipkelion East constituency. Could the Cabinet Secretary also indicate whether the ministry and the government could consider cushioning families that rely entirely on logging activities in Kipkelion East constituency for their economic livelihoods? And finally, could the Cabinet Secretary indicate whether the government, through the ministry, could consider allowing a regulated shamba system in the area to promote an enhanced food security? The member also wants to understand if the Cabinet Secretary could indicate whether there are any plans to lift the moratorium on prohibition of logging activities across the country. The questions by Honourable Member for Kipkelion East will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Matters Forestry and Matters Mining. I had also hinted to you that there are 2 bills that will be tabled for the first time before the floor this morning, and these particular bills are the Health Amendment Bill, Bill number 42 of the year 2022 by Honorable Didmas Baraza. And just to take you through what the bill is about, is that the principal object of this particular bill seeks to amend Health Act number 21 of the year 2027 to introduce a new section which provides for the development of policy guidelines to regulate the referral of patients to health institutions, both within and outside the country. And according to the bill, this particular new section will ensure that the relevant stakeholders are involved in the process of developing such policy guidelines so as to ensure that the process of referral to hospitals outside the country is not subjected to abuse. On your screens, you can see the Sergeant at Arms at the entry of the chamber with the paper, of course, counting the number of members making their way into the chamber this morning. And immediately the quorum has been achieved, they will be signaling the other Sergeant at Arms in the chamber to signal that the business of the House can commence. And this particular directive on matters quorum is pursuant to Standing Orders number 34 that provides for the Speaker or the Chair to direct that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes. And this is to allow for more members to sort of access the chambers this morning. And pursuant to amendments that came with the lapse of 12th Parliament, we have provisions that upon the lapse of the 10 minutes, the Speaker shall also direct that the quorum bell be rung for another 10 minutes to allow for members access the chambers. It is at 9:42 this morning. Apparently 13 minutes when after the business of the House is supposed to sort of have commenced. And we await to understand if the National Assembly is going to raise that particular number of members of Parliament this morning to commence business as scheduled in the order paper this morning. The bill by Honourable Didmas Baraza on the Health Amendment Bill number 2 of the year 2022 does not delegate legislative powers, nor does it limit the fundamental rights of freedom. And this particular bill does not concern the county governments, and this is in terms of Article 109, subsection 5 of the Constitution, as it does not provide or contain provisions that affect the functions and powers of the county governments as set in the 4th schedule of the Constitution. And as to whether this particular bill is a money bill within the meaning of Article 114 of the Constitution, the enactment of this particular bill shall not occasion the meaning of Article 114 of the Constitution, and the enactment of this particular bill shall not occasion the additional expenditure of the public funds. This is a bill by Honourable Didmas Wekesa Baraza. The other bill that will be read and tabled for the first time is a bill by Honourable Member William Kamket on the Equalization Fund. And a look at the Honourable Member Kamket's bill is a bill that seeks to operationalize Article 204 of the Constitution to establish the structures of directly administering the Equalization Fund for the connected purposes. This particular bill may be cited as the Equalization Fund Act. And this particular bill seeks to establish a board under the Equalization Fund established under Section 6 of the Act. And this particular board will have the chairperson, and this particular chairperson of the board will be appointed under Section 7 of this particular Act. The Cabinet Secretary will also be sitting in this board, and this particular Cabinet Secretary is the Cabinet Secretary in charge of National Treasury. It will also have local committee, to mean Local Equalization Fund Committee, established by Section 20 of the Act, under the marginalized communities. This particular bill by Honourable William Kamket seeks to provide for a framework for the direct administration and management of the fund, establish an equalization fund board responsible for administering and managing the fund, and as well as establishing the structures and mechanisms of implementing the fund. The counting at the entrance of the chamber is still ongoing. Our members of parliament are still streaming into the chamber this morning to raise that particular number that is required for the House to commence business this morning. Pursuant to Article 204, subsection 4B of the Constitution, this Act shall apply to direct use of Equalization Fund to provide for the basic services, including
extend for
water,
another 10 minutes.
roads, and health facilities, and matters electricity. Another 5 minutes have been added to allow members to make their way into the chamber this morning. We are currently looking at the provisions and the proposals under the Equalization Fund, a bill by Honorable Member William Kamket. This is the Honorable Member for Tiati. And we've had the whip out of the chamber trying to rally members of parliament to make their way into the chamber. At least 50 members are required before the business of the House commences this morning. Pursuant to the Article 204, subsection 3B of the Constitution, this Act shall apply the directives of Equalization Fund to provide for basic services. And these basic services include water, roads, health facilities, and matters electricity to marginalized areas to the extent necessary to bring quality of those services in those areas to the level generally enjoyed by the rest of the nation as far as possible. You remember matters to do with basic rights, such as matters to do with water, health facilities, basic rights of that every other Kenyan should enjoy. And so the bill seeks to have every Kenyan enjoy this particular bill. Under the Part 2 of the Equalization Fund, the bill shall comprise 0.5% of all revenue collected by the national government each year, calculated on the basis of the most recent audited accounts by the revenue received and approved by the National Assembly. The House has raised that particular quorum required this morning, and this follows the signals by the sergeant at arms standing at the chambers this morning. So I'll hand you over so you could follow up on the proceedings of the House on this Wednesday morning. Enjoy your viewing.
We may start.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Member Karoli Omondi.
Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, I rise to beg to give notice of motion that aware that this House is anchored on the pursuit for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, guided by the pursuit of constitutional aspirations of all Kenyans for a government based on the essential values and principles of equality, social justice, openness, inter- and intragenerational equity, and prudent and responsible use of public resources, cognizant that there exists pervasive and systemic forms of grand political corruption through which private individuals and enterprises act in concert with state officials to exercise decision-making power and exert undue and unregulated influence over government processes, not for the greater public good, but for their own private benefit, and that this conspiracy extends to influencing government policies and laws so as to facilitate illegal private appropriation of public assets, clientelist dominance of select economic sectors, absence of transparency and accountability in government contracting, deformation of national politics, proliferation of criminal enterprises, forming a shadow economy, all for the sole purpose of private profiteering and unjust enrichment, acknowledging that the consequences of the form of systemic corruption include but are not limited to the potential to dismember the fabric of our nation, to undermining the legitimacy of public institutions, triggering high cost of living, unsustainable public debt, endemic unemployment of the youth, poor health and education services, income inequality, lack of innovation. Now, therefore, this House resolves as follows: to establish an ad hoc committee to be known as the Select Committee on Systemic Corruption, whose mandate will be as follows: to investigate instances in the recent past of systemic corruption, deliberate manipulation of government policies, rigging of tendering processes, use of non-competitive procurement methods, creeping privatization, regulatory capture, skewed government contracting, manipulation of the monetary system, and monopolistic and oligopolistic concentration of economic power for private gain, to report and make recommendations on the matters listed under paragraph A and any other related matters within 90 days. That the membership of the committee be as follows: Honorable Karoli Omondi, Chairperson; Honorable John Philip Gishohi Gagushia, Vice Chairperson; Honorable Sarah P. Korere, Member; Honorable Titus Lote, Member; Honorable Gadhoni wa Mushomba, Member; Honorable Shakil Shabir, Member; Honorable Wakili Edward Muriu, Member; Honorable Florence Jematia Sergon, Member; Honorable John Kiare, Member; Honorable Clive Ombare Gisairo, Member; Honorable Emmanuel Wangwe, Member; Honorable Samuel Atandi, Member; Honorable Mary Maingi, Member; Honorable Majimbo Kalasinga, Member; and Honorable Lilian Chebet-Sioi, Member. Thank you.
Honorable members, pursuant to order number 42, we are going to have a rearrangement of the order paper, and I think we're going to move to order paper number 8, 9, and 10, and then we shall come back to order number 7. Next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, exemption of business from the provisions of Standing Order 43.
Leader of Majority, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. Leader of Majority, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. Lel Mengit, member for Mgwen, can you stop engaging the Leader of Majority? He has some business to transact.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. You know,
just protected you from
the member
honorable
from
member from Mgwen.
The Honorable Joseph, you know, is my very good student. So he usually seeks to understand what is the next business and why you had to rearrange business. So I was just trying to explain to him. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House resolves to exempt the business appearing as order numbers 9 and 10 in today's order paper from the provision of Standing Order 43 being a Wednesday morning, a day allocated for business not sponsored by the majority or minority party or business sponsored by a committee. Honorable Speaker, I think the procedural motion is self-explanatory today. being a Wednesday morning, we are scheduled to transact private members' motions and bills, but the two orders, order number 9 and 10, are neither sponsored by private members, and therefore I seek the House's approval to transact the businesses lined up as order number 9 and 10. And with that, Honorable Speaker, I want to ask the Honorable Pamela Njoki to second.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and the Leader of the Majority, and I choose to second the motion. Thank you.
Honorable members, I now propose that this House resolves to exempt the business appearing as in the order number 9 and 10 of today's order paper from the provision of Standing Order number 43, being a Wednesday morning, a day allocated to the business not sponsored by majority or minority party or business sponsored by the committee. As of many of the opinion say aye. Let me put the question. That this House resolves to exempt the business appearing as of the order paper number 9 and 10 in today's order paper from the provisions of Standing Order number 43, being the Wednesday morning, and a day allocated to the business not sponsored by the majority or minority party or business sponsored by the committee. As of many of the opinions say aye. Aye. As of the many of the contrary opinions say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, consideration of the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulations 2022, question to be put.
I now put the question that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulations of 2022, laid on the table of this House on Tuesday, November 29, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 24(4) of the Public Finance Management Act, approves the Public Finance Management and Financial Inclusion Fund Regulations published as in legal notice number 213 of 23rd November 2022. May I put the question? I now put the question that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its inclusion of the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulations 2022, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, November 29th, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 24(4) of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, approves the Public Finance Management and Financial Inclusion Fund Regulations 2022, published on legal notice number 2013 of 23rd November 2022. As of many of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, the County Government's Additional Allocations number 2 Bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2022, question to be put.
Honorable members, I now put the question that the county government's additional allocations, number 2 bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2022, as of many of that opinion say aye. Aye. As of that many of the opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, kindly led by Honorable Sirma. Honorable members, if you just hold your horses, we shall let you go in a minute. Order number 7.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Honorable Member for Kirinyaga County, Honorable Jane Minor, Member of Parliament.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Okay. My question is to the Departmental Committee on Agriculture. The first one, could the Cabinet Secretary provide the measures in place by the government to address invasion of rice farms in Moya irrigation scheme by quail birds, where hundreds of acres of farms are destroyed every year as a result? Could the Cabinet Secretary consider compensating the farmers who are normally affected by the said menace? Could the Cabinet Secretary explain whether the government has any plans to increase the retail price of paddy rice for Moya farmers? Madam Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. If possible, I request a response in form of a written statement.
The Honorable Member, who is the chairperson for the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock. Is the Honorable Member here? The Honorable Member Honorable Member from Kirinyaga County, Jane Minor, I think what we shall do is we'll allow the member, because I know that there's a lot of work going on now with the vetting of the principal secretaries. We shall have it, we shall defy it, and he will answer to you. Thank you. What is your point of order? Member for...
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise on Standing Order 83, read together with the Speaker's manual. Madam Speaker, there is a guide on the issue of code, and I wish to bring to your attention of a member in the House, Honorable Speaker, who is dressed in a formal flag of a friendly country. Is the member in order, Honorable Speaker, to come into a house of representation like ours, an august house, wearing a flag of a friendly country without a substantive agenda for us to discuss? Is she in order, Madam Speaker? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I think I'll give the opportunity to the Honorable Esther Passaris, Member for Nairobi County, to respond.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, today I stand in solidarity with the Democratic Republic of Congo that has turned out to be a conflict zone leading to massive deaths and mass displacement. According to the United Nations, the conflict has since recorded the largest humanitarian crisis in Africa. Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi warns that the regional tensions could escalate into a full-blown war if the situation is not contained. With the DRC's entry into the East African Community and the upcoming general elections in 2023, the robust intervention of the East African Regional Bloc is critical to fostering peace between the DRC and its neighbors, Rwanda. Why did I decide to wear this outfit, the flag, today? I met a number of women, and so far, over 300,000 people have been displaced and forced to flee from their homes in Rutshuru and Bunagana since the reemergence of war. Kenya, through the East African Community Regional Bloc, was appointed to mediate the peace talks between DRC and Rwanda. The former president of Kenya, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, is currently convening peace dialogues in Nairobi, a week after the Kenya government commissioned its army to DRC. So, Madam Speaker, my wearing this outfit today is because I met the women of DRC, some of whom have lived in Kenya for the last 20 years and are really, really happy that our country hosted them, but they are looking and crying for peace in their country. Women are being raped, defiled, displaced. So as I wear this flag today, I came out from the breakfast meeting, I walked out with the flag and I told them I will bring awareness throughout the day and stand with them in solidarity, and that's why I'm donning the flag. And as a parliament, we have so many friendship groups. I'm going to try and, I noticed we're trying to create a friendship group between, in our parliament in solidarity with Ukraine. I also intend to create a friendship group in solidarity with DRC so that together all of us can call for peace. It has, charity begins at home, and our neighbors are crying for help, especially women and children. I stand guided, Madam Speaker.
I think that's a sufficient answer from the member of Nairobi County, Honorable Esther Passaris. We move on to the next question. Member for Kilkelion East, Honorable Chororot Joseph. Is he present in the House?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question, Madam Speaker, goes to the Cabinet Secretary for Environment and Forest. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the current government's position regarding the moratorium on logging activities in forest imposed in 2018 and its adverse effects on the harvesting and disposal of mature trees in Kilkelion East constituency, Madam Speaker? Second question, Madam Speaker, could the Cabinet Secretary also indicate whether the government, through the ministry, could consider cushioning families that rely entirely on logging activities in Kilkelion East constituency for their economic livelihood? Thirdly, Madam Speaker, the question is, could the Cabinet Secretary also indicate whether the government, through the ministry, could consider allowing a regulated shamba system in the area to promote and enhance food security? Could also the Cabinet Secretary indicate whether there are plans to lift the moratorium on prohibition of logging activities across the country, Madam Speaker? This is to be answered before the departmental committees on environment and forestry and mining. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Environment, Forestry and Mining. As the member is not present, I will exercise my discretion and defer it to tomorrow. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 11, the Health Amendment number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill number 42 of 2022, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Health Act. Order number 12, the Equalization Fund Bill, National Assembly Bill number 47 of 2022, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to operationalize Article 204 of the Constitution to establish structures of directly administering the Equalization Fund and for connected purposes. Order number 13, motion, development of policy on standardization and production of school uniforms in Kenya.
The honorable member, Honorable Wamushomba, shall defer to a later date. Next order.
Order number 14, motion, policy formulation on implementation and enhancement of EPZ programs in the country.
The Honorable Member, Beatrice Elachi. We shall defer that also to tomorrow. We know that members are in their committees. Next order. Honorable members, and the time being 10:15 a.m., this House stands adjourned until Wednesday, 30th November 2022 at 2:30 p.m.